Greetings, welcome to the Big Blue Motorbike Dog. If you're returning, welcome back. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the misunderstanding of what the Kawasaki W800 is supposed to be. I've seen a lot of videos talking about how the W800 doesn't stand up to the BMW R9T, the Triumph T120, the Z900 RS, or a couple other bikes that have much closer, if not 100% absolutely, modern performance numbers matching a retro style. The XSR is a good example of that as well from Yamaha. The issue at hand is about what constitutes a modern classic, a modern retro. Are they the same? How they go? And the ways that I'll talk about the two different types of motorcycles is like this. There's a motorcycle that looks like an old bike, but performs like you'd expect a 2025 or a 2024 water-cooled, fuel-injected, high-performance mapping, high compression motorcycle, generating upwards of 100 horsepower, generating upwards of 80, 90 foot-pounds of torque. And a lot of people look at the W800 and say, that must be one of those. And it's not. The Kawasaki W800 specifically is a motorcycle that's designed to transport you back in time to a point where in the 70s, I would even say into the mid-70s, a 50 horsepower motorcycle was considered a pretty powerful bike for a mid to high cc range. And what I'd really like to point out here is in 75, 1,000 cc's was considered a huge bike. A 750 was considered the top end of the middleweights or the bottom end of the heavyweights, right? The mid-range bikes would go from 749cc all the way down to, say, 400cc, and then the small bikes would be anything below 400cc, including the 49cc scooters, which didn't require a motorcycle license. And so the spot that the W800 competes with is having an emissions-efficient, compliant motorcycle that fits that mid-range, and I'll just say 400 to 750 range performance. The original W Series W650 in 1999 was a 650cc motorcycle because that's what the original W1 was. And so that's where the target is, and that's the time frame that it targets. It's to recreate that experience. I've modified mine in some ways that take away from that experience. I put tires on it, the Michelin Road Classics, which are very modern tires, very grippy, and it's because I really needed to feel a strong, deep connection to the road. And on the tires that were period correct, meaning late 60s, early 70s performance, left me feeling less than super confident on handling tight turns, handling the wet, handling high speed, being interstate speeds. I am the type of rider that when I'm riding alone or I'm leading, I do about the speed limit. The main reason for this is I live in Vermont. So the attitude in Vermont is we'll get there, and it's about seeing all the beautiful scenery around you. And you got to be going slow enough that if you're crest a hill and there's a stopped tractor or a moose or something along those lines in the road, that you need to be able to react in an appropriate amount of time. Doing Mach 1 on a motorcycle around the Green Mountains, not a great idea. There are some open roads, there are some interstates where you get a lot longer visibility, but most of the back roads where all the cool riding is and all the fun riding is has lots and lots of blind corners. So going the speed limit gives me the ability or even a little under the speed limit in some cases, gives me the ability to use a little extra timing and reaction time. Being a little bit of an older rider, I'm going to be 55 this month. That's January 2025. And it's going to give me the ability to use that extra reaction time in order to come out with the best probable scenario outcome. So the differentiating factor between what I would call a modern performance motorcycle dressed like a retro, the Z650 RS, the Z900 RS, the BMW R9T or R1200, the Triumph T120, the Triumph Bobber. A lot of these motorcycles are, assisted by water cooling or air and oil, and they're not the understressed motor that the Kawasaki W800 has. It's not that beautiful bevel drive. It's got nannies on it. It's got a lot of electronics on it. And the W does have some safety electronics on it. It's got LED lighting. It's got ABS. It's got a slipper clutch. But what it doesn't have is a rain mode or a performance mode or a general mode. It doesn't have throttle by wire. It doesn't have, this ultra complex computer in it that's dictating a bunch of things. It does have fuel injection, so there is a computer in it, but it's not like we're looking at on those modern motorcycles that would have, a full map integration and say I've got, 5 different ride modes. I've got throttle by wire. I've got everything is dependent on electronics to make the motorcycle work as intended. 100% you can ride a Kawasaki W800 or a Kawasaki W650 the exact same way you would ride a 1970s motorcycle, early 1970s motorcycle. Engaging the ABS isn't something you need to do. It's always on. So I'll just say that right away. But I have only actually triggered it when I was coming down the mountain that I live on, which is a dirt gravel road, and doing moderate braking just to control the speed as I'm coming down the mountain because it's super twisty. ABS sucks on dirt roads. I've got a GS and I turn off ABS whenever I'm on the dirt road because the skid actually helps slow you down faster. However, the areas that the W series really excels is replicating the joy, the thrill, the excitement, the feeling of freedom, the connection to the machine that we either experienced in our past or are experiencing for the first time. It's not about 0 to 60 time. It's not about taking the corners as fast as you can. It's not about, doing quarter miles. It's not about track days. It's about loving the experience of riding. So I hope this video helps if you're considering a W800 or a W650. There are lots of them to be found on the used market, but you're going to have to look a bit. You can order them direct from factory, but for some reason they just haven't been promoted that well in the United States. If you have an older bike that really, a parallel twin, and what I mean by parallel twin is a 360-degree crank where the pistons move parallel to each other. They're not offset, they're not 270, they're not 180, they move together with alternate firing order. If you had a parallel twin in your past, or you're looking for a true parallel twin and something to create the classic nostalgia of that motorcycle, the W800 is a clear winner. I thank you very much for watching today. I hope you the very best in the new year. I hope that your 2025 is much better than your 2024. And thank you very, very much for watching the channel. Please do consider liking and subscribing. Best wishes. Keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down, and keep it wheel.